Being in the sports betting industry for a couple years now, I have learned a lot about common mistakes that the average sports bettors are making. Now, this isn't me trying to call people out or make fun of anybody, because to be honest with you, before I was in the sports betting industry, I made 90% of these mistakes. So in this video, I'm going to teach you what are the most common sports betting mistakes and then give you some tips to avoid making these mistakes. As for myself, my name is Matt Modi. I am a content creator and betting analyst for oddsjam.com. I've been full-time as a full-time employee with oddsjam for just over a year. Then I was a part-time employee for a little bit over 6 months. So as I said, I have a couple years under my belt in the sports betting industry. And I've learned a lot from questions with users, conversations with sports bettors, just from talking to my buddies as well, who are casual average sports bettors. There are a ton of common mistakes that I would guess over half of the sports betting population make. So in this video, I'm just going to teach you again what these common mistakes are and then give you tips to avoid them. Number one, and I put this one as number one for a reason. Not every single one of these lists is going to be listed in order of importance, but number one is absolutely the most important one, and it is people not unit sizing properly. And when I say unit sizing, I'm referring to the amount of money that people are placing on bets themselves. I see a lot of questions from people about how to manage your bankroll, stuff like that. But one of the biggest mistakes that people make simply is they bet too much money. Whether it is they are betting too much money on a large volume of bets, or they're only placing 1 to 5 bets a day, but they're putting 10, 20% of their bankroll on those individual bets. So unit sizing properly is incredibly important. You never want to over-index yourself and have to stress from a monetary perspective about the amount of money that you are sports betting. So understanding your bankroll and unit sizing properly is very important. Now, obviously, there are a lot of educational materials that you can invest in to learn about the proper ways of bankroll management. But the number one most important strategy when it comes to bankroll management is you should never bet more than 5% of your bankroll on one individual bet. Now, your bankroll is just the amount of money that you're dedicating towards sports betting, and you should never bet more than 5% of that bankroll on one individual bet. But again, one of the most common mistakes, and also common, but also just importance in your sports betting experience, is not unit sizing properly and simply put betting too much money. Now, the next most common mistake that I see sports bettors make that I was guilty of when I first started sports betting, it's not line shopping. It's not making sure that you are getting the best odds. Now, I did this all the time. What I would do, I would just bet whatever was on DraftKings, and that's what I would do. So if I wanted to bet the Eagles on a given day, I would go to DraftKings and I would lock in the Eagles. I wouldn't see if there was even any value in that bet, which we'll get to a little bit later. And I wouldn't even see if I could get better odds elsewhere. If I'm betting on the Eagles at -7, FanDuel has them at -6, I'm just doing myself a disservice by not line shopping. And it takes 2 seconds. There are tools like what OddsJam offers you, line shopping for completely free. So if you aren't at the point in your life where you're ready to actually spend money sports betting, totally fine. You can at least line shop for completely free on the OddsJam website and just do this work that's very, very simple. It's just one of the easiest ways to ensure that you're at least winning the highest percent of your bets. It's just making sure that you are getting the best lines and the best odds. Now, the next mistake is related to this one, but it's not betting with some sort of edge. It's sports bettors that bet based on gut, based on feel, based on what they think is going to happen without really understanding whether they have an edge on that play or not. Now, like I said, I was incredibly guilty about doing this when I first started sports betting. Literally what I would do, and this is 100% true, what I would do is I would literally go to DraftKings and I would search through the player props and the lines, and I would just say, what looks good here? And then I would bet that. Now, I would do some research into like trends and stuff, like, oh, if I'm betting Jimmy Butler rebounds, how often has he gone over this number in his last 8 games? To be honest, a lot of that information isn't super helpful in terms of actually making money sports betting, but I wouldn't bet with some sort of edge. I would literally just lock in plays that I thought looked good. And I can tell you, I did make a lot of money when I was first sports betting. Now, I actually have a video on my YouTube channel telling you why I lost money when I first started sports betting. This is absolutely one of those reasons. I had no edge. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just placing bets that I thought looked good as I was scrolling through DraftKings. Now, obviously, a very simple solution for this, OddsJam offers a lot of tools that give you an edge over the sportsbooks. My personal favorite one, the positive EV page, placing mathematically profitable bets that you know have an edge over the sportsbook. That OddsJam literally calculates how big of an edge that you have. So it's quite easy solution to solve, but not betting with an edge, very, very common sports betting mistake, one that I was absolutely guilty of. I was also guilty of this next sports betting mistake, which is avoiding plays that are for plus money. I was guilty of it. I get a lot of questions from users saying, why would you bet this play if it's for plus money? Doesn't that mean the bet is unlikely to win? Technically true. Yes, if you're betting something for plus money, then generally your win percentage is going to be below 50%. But guess what? Put it simply, plus money equals more money if your bets win. If you win 10 bets at plus 150 odds, you are going to have made more money than winning 10 bets at minus 150 odds. It sounds stupid, but it's actually very, very important. Sports are unpredictable. Plus money bets hit all the time. Just look at March Madness, all the insane upsets. Obviously, FDU over Purdue being the most important one, but stuff like that, not necessarily a 16 seed winning, but major upsets happen all the time. And if you refuse to bet anything for plus money because your logic is, well, that's not going to hit very often, so I shouldn't bet that, I can assure you that is not a profitable way to make money sports betting. Minus 200 bets lose all the time. And if you're betting like plus 200, literally you need to win 35% of the time and you are making money. So betting these plus money plays are much more valuable if they hit. And really it's as simple as, if you're betting plus money, you don't need to win 50% of your bets in order to be profitable. And it's much, much easier. It's a much easier task to think about your win percentage when it can be below 50%. If you look at my stats, I don't win 50% of my bets, but I am a profitable sports bettor. And it's just because the plus money odds. So the mistake of not betting anything that's plus money because it's unlikely to win absolutely should be avoided. Now, this next mistake was also something that I was very, very guilty of, but it's rage betting or tilt betting when you're mad. Either you're mad because you just had a bad beat and you're really annoyed that your bet lost, or you're a Sixers fan and the Sixers just blew a lead and you're annoyed, so you want to put money on whatever the next bet is that you see. It's a very bad idea. It rarely actually results to winning money. The best advice that I ever heard as a sports bettor came from OddsJam's team member, John Hyslop. Don't be afraid to go to bed a loser. It sounds like a joke, but it's actually important. If you had a bad day sports betting, just leave it at that. Don't make it worse by rage betting or tilting and saying like, you know what, I'm going to bet $100 on this UFC fight because I'm mad that the Sixers lost. Yes, that is an actual of something that I actually did. I'm speaking from experience there. So accepting that you just had a bad day, not being afraid to go to bed a loser is very, very important when it comes to sports betting. And the opposite of that can also be true as well. Don't be afraid to go to bed a winner. If you're up $200, don't spend that $200 on a bet because you think it looks good. Take your money, accept your cash, live to bet another day. So rage betting, tilting, it's a very, very common mistake that it's human nature. I can relate to it, I understand, but learning to go to bed a loser will help you in the long run when it comes to sports betting. And also something that I just advise in life in general. Don't be afraid to go to bed a loser sometimes. Now, this next sports betting mistake that I find kind of funny just because it's human nature, but people that assume that every single odds boost or every single promotion that a sports betting offers is a scam is not something that you should do. It's a common mistake, but it's just simply not true. If you think about it, like I understand the concept behind it and why people think that, because they think, well, why would these sports books offer something? Nobody does anything good, right? That's just how we're conditioned to think in the world. But if you can kind of take a step back and think about this from a sports book's perspective, when they offer an odds boost or they offer a promotion, they literally want these bets to hit. They want you to place bets that hit. These sports books are in huge, huge competition for your attention. Think about how many legal sports books there are. Like if you're in Colorado or if you're in New Jersey, You have over 20 legal sportsbooks that you can use. Think about the advertising that you see. DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, PointsBet, Caesars, all of these sportsbooks, it's an arm race to get you to use their platform. One way in which a sportsbook can get a user on their platform is by offering an odds boost, by offering a promotion, and hoping that hits. If you put $50 on an odds boost and it hits, you just made a bunch of money on FanDuel, and they're hoping that you will continually use their app, and that if you lose money, you will just deposit more and you'll keep using their app. So thinking that these promotions are a scam and that the sportsbooks are trying to take advantage of you, it's just not true, and it's a really easy way to leave money on the table when you're sports betting. Again, I understand the human nature aspect of it, just assuming everything you see is not true. But for these promotions and odds boosts, they are true, and the sportsbooks aren't trying to trick you. They just want you to use their platform. And then the last one, and this is specific to novice sports bettors, but people that make sweeping decisions based on a small sample size is a mistake. Now, I'm recording this in the beginning of April, so baseball season just started. So this is very topical for this time of year, but baseball season starts. You lose 8 of your first 10 bets. Well, I guess I just simply can't make money off baseball. I guess I should just ignore baseball. That's not necessarily the case, right? Like 10 bets is way too small of a sample size. I have users saying, hey, I haven't made money in the past 2 days. What am I doing wrong? And it's like, well, 2 days, unfortunately, isn't a big enough sample size to make any sweeping decisions out of. I've had weeks where I was down literally 5 of 6 days, sometimes down a lot. Like if you look at the screenshot here of my month of February of this year, literally down 5 of 6 days. Now, my strategy wasn't any different in those 6 days than it was in a normal time when I'm using oddsjam and making a bunch of profits. I just had bad luck. So understanding that variance is a very important part of sports betting is important to understand. Understanding the law of large numbers. The example that I like to give is, let's pretend you place 500 bets and every single bet has a 2% edge. 90% of those people are going to be profitable. So in general, we tell users, give it some time, give it like 500 bets, 1,000 bets to truly understand where your edge is and make some decisions based off of your data. But anything less than that, a lot of times can just be noise. But back to the example. So 500 bets with a 2% edge, 90% of you will be profitable. What that means is, unfortunately, the other side of that coin is the 10% of you that unfortunately weren't profitable. Now you're placing the same exact bets. 10% of you had horrible luck. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Doesn't mean that your strategy needs to change. It just means that you had bad luck. So using a small sample size and trying to make sweeping decisions based off of that small sample size, very common sports betting mistake, which again, I understand. It's human nature. You had 2 losing days in a row and you're like, this is BS. I hate everything. I get it. It's hard when you don't have the benefit of hindsight and seeing, oh, I have years of data showing me that this is profitable. I am just in a cold streak. So it's important to just kind of take a deep breath and understand that you're not going to win every single bet or profit every single day, week, month, but give yourself enough volume with an edge to go back to a previous point. Make sure that you do have an edge and give yourself enough volume to let that edge work out. So again, making sweeping decisions based on a small sample size, common sports betting mistake, something that you should avoid. And that's it. So I listed 7 or 8 or so sports betting mistakes that are very common to the novice or average sports bettor. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, like, comment, subscribe. All that stuff helps me out a ton. You can find me on social media at my Twitter handle you see on the screen here, Jedi Modai. And that's it. So again, I appreciate everybody watching and have a good one.